Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Happy Sunday to you. Looking at Bitcoin once more, helping you with best practice, big picture. More so trying to look at some support and resistance levels. We have a type of wedge pattern here forming as well. And obviously, kind of see what the potential is here in the near future. It does look fairly positive for Bitcoin, but we want to look at traditional markets as well. Even though they're closed this weekend, we want to kind of see if there's any potential for gaps and essentially go from there. So, if you're new to the channel, keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor, love teaching people to trade. If you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a site. I teach you how to become a better trader, but I also provide you with trading signals, and you work with an amazing community. Look at how great my community is doing. A bunch of BNB longs here, 43%, well done Philly, mechanical investor, 36%, and take a look at my admin here. SAC at 411% for a chain link long. That is a really good play. Very, very well done. As far as myself is concerned, we were able to take profits on 185% roughly for BNB in only 9 days. You may seem like that's a lot, but do you know anyone else that can get 200% in just over a week? I'm not sure. It's not a common thing. What about Bitcoin? 24 hours, or sorry, 48 hours, 98%. Again, those are just some of the signals that I send out. I'm getting some signals together here today as well, so we can get that kind of going, but definitely looking pretty good here, okay? So let's keep that in mind. Awesome community. Oh, we also use Bitget as well, and if you want to qualify for a $10,000 prize pool, link in the description below. I have that monthly every month by just being, having that affiliation with them. So thank you, Bitget, for just an amazing exchange and making my life a lot better place. So taking a look here at Bitcoin. Sorry for clearing my throat here, but when it comes to Bitcoin right now, obviously it's a weekend, right? We don't have a tremendous amount of data to call from, and typically volume's lower, volatility can be potentially higher. So in a sense, we want to kind of look at some general things here. First of all, dollar index is up as it closed on Friday. Traditional markets are down. At least this was again on Friday. And then if we take a look at just say futures, for example, there's no significant gap that we've experienced in the recent past that needs to be filled. Okay, so in that sense, it really just implies that we don't need to expect a volatile increase or decrease on Monday. While of course that can happen, there's no gaps that need to be filled right away. And that's a positive sign. Bitcoin dominance is also on the decrease, which implies that a lot of altcoins are getting more capitalization coming to them. Dogecoin is a prime example. BNB also, a handful of others are doing really well, contrary to Bitcoin doing kind of sideways. Okay, so again, mostly good stuff there, but how that reflects on Bitcoin, it really is just one of those things where we shouldn't experience a significant drop unless, of course, the market opens very, very low, which is, again, is still a possibility, but it's not a probability. It seems less likely for that to occur. Because again, I analyze the traditional markets myself in my own time, and I can tell you they're looking fairly healthy right now, and Bitcoin is also exuding similar behavior. Let's take a look at the indications, kind of see where we're at. First of all, positive sign here, moving average convergence divergence is converging positively, really implying that the bearish momentum has dissipated. So it's held this price point for roughly 4 days in a row. The likelihood of an increase from here is very higher based on the fact that we have an ascending type of pattern. So what I mean by that is if you take a look at this, the price action comes up, and of course, we are creating this type of pennant pattern, or I guess some people call it a flag, even though it's not quite a flag. It's basically a pennant, and what it does is oftentimes it'll break to the upside because, again, the resistance level keeps getting tested and it's going to get broken. Okay, so we got a strong resistance here in the range of about 16,600, and we can see that breaking to the upside more so likely than not. Again, it's just a slight probability greater that it's going to go up than down. It's not like it's a dramatic thing. So please understand that, if you're going to take a position, or perhaps you're going to follow my signal that I might send out here soon, it is not one of those things that's going to be definitive. It's not the true confirmation that I like to look for, but on the same accord, it makes sense to kind of get in fairly early if possible, and to possibly have multiple entries as well. So, again, we're looking pretty good here in that sense. The daily looks slightly better than negative. You got to keep in mind too, though, we are right here at the 20-day set moving average, coming up here to potentially get tested. So if we can break above that, I think that's going to be a very strong starting point. Again, it's not a definitive, we're all good to go as soon as we get above that, but it does help. Okay. So again, the daily is not terrible, but it's also not fantastic, right? Just slightly more bullish than bearish for me on the daily. Taking a look here at the 4 hour, we can see we're pretty much just plateauing, so to speak, here. And this is where you can kind of see the pattern forming a little bit easier. It's not, again, an exact science, but oftentimes when you have the price action come up like this, it'll continue again higher. Anytime something works itself into a wedge, if it originally started from that same direction, it's going to continue in that same direction oftentimes, more often than not. Another thing that's positive here as well is that we're up over 50 on the RSI, and I love to see that. We've been maintaining that for quite a few days here. 5 days straight, we've been over 50 on the RSI. So to me, that tells me that we are, while we aren't significantly bullish, we're on the bullish side of the tracks, and that's important to recognize. Moving average convergence divergence, not much to really note here because it is really just going straight sideways, and when you go sideways, there's not much of a convergence or divergence because the momentum isn't really there. Okay, so in truth, we don't have a tremendous amount of momentum on the 4 hour, but on the daily, we still do. We're increasing in oscillators, that the price action is continuing higher in the overall sense of where we're at previously. So I think we're looking fairly good here, honestly, in the overall sense of things. Again, there's not a lot of momentum plays to be had here. It's more so basing itself on patterns that are forming. Okay, so again, we take a look at TD sequential, the typical hard 9 to the bottom, came up to almost a 9 as well, and we've been consolidating ever since. So again, not a lot of consistency there in that sense because of the fact that we're consolidating throughout the weekend and of course had a nice increase Thursday, Friday. But for right now, I think we're still looking fairly decent. The 4 hour is slightly more positive than negative as well. TD sequential, looking at the 1 hour, not a lot to really note here as well. So again, overexhaustion doesn't really apply too much to consolidating periods. Consolidation periods oftentimes break out based on patterns, and the reason why those patterns are realistic is because support and resistance levels are consistently being tested. So we can see this, this area here is consistently being pushed. We can see a volume profile right at the same price range too as well, where the most amount of volume is being traded at this range. So there's no doubt that we're in a wedge type of pattern, but is it ascending or descending? Well, it's ascending because of the fact that it came from the bottom and it's more likely to increase from here. Again, just a statistical probability it's going to go up then down a little bit more so than not. Because again, as we looked at every single time frame here so far, daily is slightly more positive, the 4 hours slightly more positive, and the hourly is also reflecting that as well. Let's take a look at the cloud though. And again, the cloud isn't really a significant or beneficial indicator too when it comes to sideways action and the price action consolidating. So I wouldn't put a lot of strength into this one yet until it chooses a side, which is another reason why sometimes the best trade is no trade. I'd like to recommend that in most cases, but just note that at this point, the overall sense of the market feels like it's slightly more bullish than bearish, and we're starting to see that FTX issue not necessarily resolve itself, but it's becoming a thing of the past, and the fear, uncertainty, and doubt is getting less significant. As that continues to dissipate, the price action will likely increase from there. So what we're obviously hoping for is dollar index to go down on Monday, and of course traditional markets to gap up effectively throughout the entire week. Again, a lot of stuff going on there, but there's no real major news events that I'm aware of coming up in the immediate future. I think we do have a Fed meeting next month, of course, but I think that's later in the month. So between now and then, honestly, I think we're going to be able to see higher highs and higher lows from Bitcoin a little more consistently here. Okay, so again, more likely than not, we'll see an increase, but there's no guarantees here, of course. So if you're not sure yourself, I would say stick to waiting on the sidelines. But at this point, to me, I feel like we're more likely to see an increase than a decrease from here. That's, again, purely speculation. I hope that makes sense to you, though, and that obviously you learned something here today. Thank you so much for joining me, of course. If you want to become a better trader, again, CryptoCache.tech is a site. Link down below, and obviously you want to be a better trader with a really good exchange, the best exchange in the world, then I would recommend Bitget. Fantastic exchange, and you also qualify for my monthly prize pool if you use the link in the description below. Make sure to use that. If you registered outside of that, feel free to message me. I can add you to the roster to ensure that you get that benefit as well. Thanks again for joining me. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.